Hey there everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now this episode has been requested by my friend Adam Hogan, and you would not believe what he asked me to blog. Well, before I begin, I need to mention an author whom some folks might know about, named Chris Van Allsburg, whom I did manage to talk about 3 years ago when I put the Polar Express on my top 25 holiday films. But other than Polar Express being a great movie, there were also 2 other books that Van Allsburg written that later turned into awesome films, and both of them are centered around a mysterious board game where strange things happen while playing them. And the film I'll be blogging today is the very first time where that actually happens on screen. So, without further ado, released on December 15th, 1995, the movie is Jumanji. So, let's begin. A magical board game unleashes a world of adventure on siblings Peter and Judy Shepard. While exploring an old mansion, the youngsters find a curious jungle-themed game called Jumanji in the attic. When they start playing, they free Alan Parrish, who's been stuck in the game's inner world for 26 years. If they win Jumanji, the kids can free Alan for good, but that also means braving giant bugs, ill-mannered monkeys, stampeding rhinos, dangerous plants, and a mad hunter. So, my thoughts? I thought this movie was really incredible and really suspenseful. But in order to explain more information on why I like this film, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie was directed by Joe Johnston, who helped with Star Wars Episode 4 as well as The Pagemaster, including Captain America and the Rocketeer. While producer Peter Guber was visiting Boston, he invited author Chris Van Allsburg, who lived in Providence, Rhode Island, to option his book. Van Allsburg wrote one of the screenplay drafts, which he described as sort of trying to do the story with the quality of mystery and surrealism. As for my thoughts, well, in my opinion, the idea of the movie taking place in Branford, New Hampshire is a nice idea, and the way they made the town look during the 1960s looks very peaceful, while during 1995, everything is all folded up, and people are left homeless, and the economy went downhill. I also like the look of the Parrish house. Mostly it looks like a huge fancy house, but as the game is played, it gets wrecked and then becomes jungle-like with vines, trees, and mist. As for the game itself, well, for what I can tell, it was first seen in an ancient box that was buried during the 1800s, but later dug up in a construction area by Alan. Now, it may seem like an ordinary board game, but unfortunately, it isn't. Because it makes a mysterious drumming noise, and it summons jungle things every time the dice is rolled. For example, it begins with bats, then Alan gets sucked in until someone rolls 5 or 8. Later, we get huge mosquitoes, rowdy monkeys, as well as a lion, but things get more intense with dangerous plants, which are equally as nasty as the one I got to work with in high school theater, including a stampede of rhinos, elephants, zebras, and a couple of pelicans, a monsoon which brings along 2 crocodiles, quicksand, huge spiders that give me the creeps, and it ends off with an earthquake. Also, the game has no mercy with accidental rolls, and it punishes players who cheat. But when a player reaches the end, everything that was summoned gets sucked back in, and time resets. However, while a lot of that stuff is really intense, the visuals are a bit dated to today's standards. I also need to mention that sometimes the music in this movie makes me think of Don Bluth's An American Tail. No surprise, since the music was composed by the late James Horner. Also, this movie does have a few funny moments, and it does do great when it comes to character development. Speaking of characters, let's talk about them and their actors right now. Our main protagonist, Alan Parrish, is played by the late, great Robin Williams, known for being in Disney's Aladdin and Ferngully the Last Rainforest, which I already blogged. He was also in Blue Sky's Robots and the Happy Feet films. Alan is a man who was trapped inside Jumanji for 26 years ever since he was a boy. As a boy, he was loved by the community, but had some bully problems, and has to learn to face what he's been afraid of. The thing I like about Alan is that he knows what to expect due to his experience being trapped in the game. Also, I like the part when he uses a sword to cut a pod's vine and wrestles a crocodile, which could make the late Steve Irwin jealous. Next is Alan's friend, Sarah Whittle, played by Bonnie Hunt, who's been in several Pixar films, as well as playing Duchess Matilda in Sophia the First. Ever since Alan got sucked into the game, when she was young, she became traumatized and had to go through therapy. Later, as an adult, she became a psychic and changed her name to Madame Serena. But after being reunited with Alan, she becomes a bit hesitant to resume the game. But she does make a great supporting character and a nice love interest for Alan. Next we have Judy and Peter Shepard, played by Kirsten Dunst and Bradley Pierce. They have been raised by their Aunt Nora ever since their parents died during one of their vacations. The conflict caused Peter to be mute and Judy to be indifferent. We also have Carl Bentley, played by David Alan Grier, who was in The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Hoodwink 2. Carl is Alan's oldest friend and an employee at Sam's Shoe Factory in 1969, who later, after he got fired, became a police officer in 1974. Oh yeah, almost forgot about him. This is Van Pelt, a hunter from Jumanji. He's played by Jonathan Hyde, who was in Richie Rich and James Cameron's Titanic. In my opinion, Van shares the same personality as Alan's father, kind of like Captain Hook and George Darling from Peter Pan. They're basically the same character. As soon as Van is summoned from the game, he attempts to shoot down Alan and his friends, which makes me wonder, why was Van after Alan to begin with, though? And now it's time to move on to my final words. Overall, Jumanji is a great film to come from the works of Chris Van Allsburg. The characters, in my opinion, are memorable, and the jungle stuff is intense and frightening, and the sets are great, while the visuals are a tad dated. Anyway, if you guys are interested in watching this movie, then by all means, go right ahead. But I must warn you, due to all the frightening jungle stuff, if you plan to have your kids watch this, then make sure you watch it with them. As for my final rating, well, I'll give it a 95% out of 100. Now, will I blog the sequel to Thura? Maybe. It just depends on how I feel. Well, anyway, be sure to join me next time, because I have one more requested blog to finish before my leg gets reoperated. Mustang Power.